Well, Thomas Hoffer is a predator. He's on parole, still under the watch of authorities. The convicted rapist is also on the NDIS, using it to meet up with young females unaware of his dark past.
I was horrified. I was genuinely really scared.
They went to look at a room and you raped them.
That is not what happened.
Convicted rapist Thomas Hoffer has been advertising for young female disability support workers. Should this be allowed?
Yeah, it's pretty concerning, isn't it? I mean, the fundamentals of it are that if someone has a history of sexual assault and violence, then there is a risk there. And that risk has to be mitigated and prevented and assessed.
Thomas Hoffer is a convicted rapist. He went to jail, but he isn't sorry.
Did you learn remorse while you were in jail?
As I said, I'm 100% innocent of what happened.
Despite that, he's on parole in Newcastle, New South Wales. He's also now on the NDIS and has been advertising for support from the same demographic of women he's previously attacked. On several Facebook pages, including Australia Backpackers 2023, Hoffer posted,
"Female mental health disability support worker wanted for regular work up to $50 per hour. Must have good communication skills, a good sense of humour, be fit, able to walk 5 kilometres and swim."
On another page, he requested,
"A female 18 to 35 years old for beach walk and swim."
Lucy is an NDIS coordinator who lives in the area and was recently contacted by the predator.
How Thomas found me is beyond me. I still don't know. Thomas had contacted me randomly on Facebook via Messenger. Thomas at the time was seeking a support worker who was between the ages of 21 and 35 and female.
In messages, Thomas Hoffer said,
"Hello Lucy, are you interested in NDIS support work from $60 to $100 per hour?"
Unaware of his criminal history, Lucy responded, "Possibly, what's your location?"
That was the first instance, and there was a couple more after that where he contacted me again and said, "You're free this weekend." Same sort of deal, and I just sort of brushed it off and whatnot. Very unusual, not knowing anything about this person. So I'd asked him a bit of a brief summary of his disability and sort of gathered a little bit of information.
Meet me here 1 to 6 p.m. Is that a pub?
Yep.
So he's asked you to meet him at a pub?
Correct.
Is that odd?
Absolutely.
She was concerned, so she did some research.
I was obviously quite alarmed at his criminal history and the convictions that have occurred to date.
Hoffer was jailed for 6.5 years for raping 2 women after luring them to his place with a room for rent ad.
One of them was only 17.
And the age of consent is 16.
In late 2021, while on parole, he kissed another woman without her consent using the same MO and was put back behind bars before being released again. After learning the truth, Lucy wanted nothing to do with him.
I think that is, negligent of the NDIS to be able to allow somebody with such an extensive criminal history to just find whoever it is that he wants in the community that fits a criteria for a certain agenda and take it from there.
Thomas Hoffer messaged another female NDIS worker on Facebook saying,
"Seeking an independent NDIS support worker
to go to a pub
for chat and live music, $100 per hour."
She organised a colleague to work with Hoffer. During the shift, the predator asked the woman to dance with him. She said no. I spoke to 3 other young female NDIS workers who have been approached by Thomas Hoffer on social media. They weren't told about his criminal history or that he's on parole. We're not suggesting Hoffer isn't eligible to be on the NDIS, but the question is, how on earth has our National Disability Insurance Agency let a convicted rapist on parole
who has never shown remorse, advertise and approach young female workers? Who is watching out for these women?
It's a real problem if there are not systems in place to prevent this kind of thing happening and to protect workers.
Angus McFarland from the Australian Services Union.
How do you feel for those women?
Oh, I feel very distressed for them. I can't imagine what they would feel, because it's an example of workers going into a situation without the knowledge and support to address what risks there could be. All of that needs to be taken into account in the circumstances, and it looks like there's been a failure of the system here.
Choice and control is a key principle of the NDIS, and currently participants choose whether or not they use a registered provider.
Well, under the current way it works, if you're self-managed, you can directly, find your own worker, and how you do that, whether it be online in chat groups or meet someone on the street. I mean, you're allowed to do that.
The federal government's NDIS review has recommended more oversight of high-risk participants, including that they're only allowed to use registered providers that would conduct rigorous assessments. But no reforms have been implemented.
My fear is that there are going to be a lot of female support workers out there in that age bracket who meet his criteria. Obviously, with the cost of living now, that's something that's going to be very enticing to them, is that hourly rate. Then I would just hate for somebody to be placed in that situation.
Hoffa's now been banned from using social media to advertise for workers without approval. Basically, this convicted rapist is using taxpayer money to meet potential female carers at a pub, while there are others who can't get the help they need.